everyone, and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 7th to Thursday the 10th of March 2022. And we had a week, didn't we? We had one heck of a week, and I want to talk all about it. I want to gush, I want to get excited, I want to moan, I want to do everything that we always do on this podcast, but I cannot do that on my own. I just cannot. So I brought in Rob for the ride. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Yo there, Alexander. How are you this week? Are you well? Let's get these pleasantries out of the way before we kick off.
Yeah, we'll kick off. Yes, we will be kicking off a very exciting week. We have lots and lots to talk about, as you may all know. But before we do any of that, I think we need to do a quick honourable mention right at the start of the show. So when EastEnders began this week, we had a nice long panning shot going over the square. Lots of new things to discover. It was like a Where's Wally of new things. There was a big building in the background, and there's a new shopping centre behind where the Arches is, where it used to be corrugated iron. There's lots of new things. And we had a brilliant line, which, if anyone who follows us on Twitter at Walford Weekly will know, is our line of the week this week, which was Sharon basically kind of announcing the new square. I mean, there was, I'd have to say, it was beautiful. It was a work of art. It was just a wonderful thing to behold. And I just think we should start by talking about that before we delve into the stories of the week. So, Rob, what was your thoughts of when you first swept over the square like Superman?
Honestly, was that not just the best? It was literally like EastEnders was going, "Oh, hi there! Hi, come in. What do you think we've done with the place?" And then literally just like, I mean, they got the drone out, and do you know what? Damn right. Because that set looks worth every single penny, doesn't it? It looks incredible.
It's
not
beautiful.
Not quite the 100,000 that I accidentally said the other day. Like, they wish it was 100,000, 100 million. But do you know what? It's like £100,000 of property these days, isn't it? But do you know what? That set looks incredible. They've done an amazing job. It looks. I know. The whole idea was that it looks exactly the same, but it looks exactly the same. So Martin's line about it looks just like the old one, is true. But I can't wait to see the stuff that we're going to get on that new set. And what a week it had to start off on it. Talking about that little interplay between Martin and Sharon, I got all the lines that's there, and then Martin said something about a smell. I want to know what the smell was now. I want to know what that line was about, because clearly that was an in-joke or something. I want to know. Anybody who works in the EastEnders production team who fancies giving us a little insight, let us know what that line meant. Go on, let us know.
I wondered if it maybe just a little play on the fact that the very first line ever said on EastEnders was "Kheerat stinks in here," and so perhaps they thought maybe, because I kind of tossed up the idea of was there a lingering smell on the old lot of Albert Square that they were making a little nudge nudge wink wink joke about, that the viewers kind of had to investigate to find out for themselves. So there is so much to discover on that set. I mean, we'll talk about all the stories in a sec, but like when Gray was going behind the houses, you saw the back gardens for the first time ever. We saw the back gardens for the first time. The police didn't seem to see the back gardens for the first time ever, because they didn't go down there.
They weren't aware of the new set.
Gray.
No.
They weren't told about the new set. They weren't given
they haven't seen the drone shot. No.
But like I say, there was a new shopping bit, I think, behind where the Arches is now, which used to be like covered over. The park's been brought forward a little bit. The community centre's been kind of moved a little bit, angled off to one side too. There's that big building in the background that's kind of covering what used to be the towers, the tower blocks. I just can't wait to see
Karen's
so
got
much
a back
new
door.
things. Karen's opening up her back door to anyone who asks. Why not? And also another little tidbit I've discovered was they've actually made the very indistinguishable, but they made the street a little bit wider, so it's easier to drive around the square as well now. So that's another little tidbit. Did you notice that Coker and Son is now at the end of Market Street now as well, which I didn't think it was originally, and now it's right down the end.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because you'll remember a few weeks back now, I spoke of some friends of mine that are fans of the show who are not, our insane level of fandom. They didn't mind Denise slowing down time. Those friends. And they, we were talking about the new set, and I'd had a conversation with him about, like, you know, the new set. I told them, we've seen the new set this week. It's going to be quite exciting. And he said to me, all right, well, that's cool. I wonder if we'll notice any difference. Apparently the answer to that is yes, we will. Because he said to me about the fact that you could see Coker and Sons, like, down Market Street. And he was also questioning whether, because he wasn't entirely convinced that the bridge was still there. And it was a bit, and that first episode, you couldn't really see the bridge. Trust us, by the end of the week, we saw the bridge. The bridge is still there. Yes. We know that for a fact. But but you could totally tell. We could never see Coker and Sons from that angle of the square before. Not saying I mind that, but it's definitely a new component of it. So he was noticing all sorts. I was very proud. I thought my geekdom's rubbing off on you. Finally, you're actually being able to understand it all now. Marvelous. But I can't. Like, I was so excited. Like that. Again, that opening shot is probably one of my favourite things ever. I love it. I loved that so much. The choreography of it, you know, like the drones going, because drone filming is a pain in the arse sometimes. Like, I know this from, like, various things that I've been involved with, and you can, you know, trying to film a drone and not have a shadow there of it, you know, and because you're going so high, you're seeing stuff that you don't necessarily want to sometimes. So the choreography that would have been required to do that whilst getting all the extras to sort of mill around and make the square look busy, and then time it with Sharon and Martin coming out of their house. It was, perfection. Mwah! Loved it. And it felt like the start of a big epic week, didn't it? It felt like, welcome, sit down, sit the hell down, and look what we're about to do for you. So, yes!
Because this is it, yeah. So I think it's a new game that we'll be playing from now on the podcast for a few weeks, and that is What Have We Spotted Now on Albert Square? So, or in Walford. Yes. So I look forward to us coming every week going, did you see that this week? So yeah, I'm so pleased with them. And a few comments on there as well, which was really complimentary, was that it didn't look new. It looked like, as you said, it looked like the old set. When Coronation Street kind of updated their set, it looked too new. It looked like, and it looked too HD, if that makes any sense. And although I did appreciate that it did look like it was different, it didn't look like it wasn't Albert Square. It was still Albert Square, it was still Market Street, it was still Turpin Road. Everything there was still right. And apart from a few maybe places that have moved around, it didn't really disturb my viewing, and it didn't kind of put me off. It's just something I spotted and saw. So yeah, really love it. Really pleased. And I'd love for people to get in touch with us on our Twitter, our Instagram, or our YouTube comments if you're watching this on YouTube, and let us know what your favourite part of the new set is that you've spotted so far. And is there something that perhaps we haven't spotted yet, and we should have seen? So yes, looking forward to that. But we are now here to talk about the stories of EastEnders this week, and we're not going to delve straight into Grey just yet. We're going to keep that for a little bit longer.
Calm it down.
That's it. Keep you on your toes a little bit, and we're going to start off though with Vinny's story, because Vinny is still trying to get the approval of his family. Suki is softening to him. Dotty is also softening to him, but Uncle is certainly not, bringing up that he wet himself during a business negotiation this week. But absolutely, what a horrible, horrible thing to bring up. However, luckily for the family who are trying to negotiate this new housing block in Dubai, I believe, Kheerat was able to storm through the door, put out his chest and say, "Uncle, I'm here," because that's how I saw it happening. And they were able to get the negotiations underway, kind of then trouncing Vinny's efforts altogether, even though he wasn't really putting up a very good job at doing it. I know. But again, what are they going to do with Vinny, Because they just can't seem to fit Vinny into place with the Empire, the Panesar Empire.
He needs to have that sort of hero Vinny moment, doesn't he? Which he's yet to have, and he's craving that himself. This whole thing about him and Suki, I'm loving it, but it's kind of like, I get the feeling that Vinny is, instead of actually getting his hero moment, he's going to try and create his own hero moment, which is going to go horrifically wrong at some point, isn't it?
Yes, I do.
Again, you know, I like this whole thing with Dotty and the fact that twice now, she has literally turned around to Suki and went, "Well, you're going to let him try then? Are you going to," and like stood up to her. And because of Dotty was why Vinny was kind of thrust into the situation that he was in. And Suki would kind of listen to Dotty and thought, all right, yeah, fair play, let's give him a go. Suki, clearly uncomfortable from the moment the meeting began, knew that it was a terrible idea the second that the uncle walked in. I mean, this uncle was horrible, wasn't he? Really not a nice person. And just like, I mean, obviously, you know, not quite an uncle, but he's basically been revered into like Uncle being the ultimate compliment for him, so that he feels that he is in charge of the whole proceedings. He looks at Vinny and literally just sees a child, and is only really interested in dealing with Kheerat, who literally, like you say, literally just walks in from his attempted murder runaway. Just walks in. But I've got time for this meeting, though. Don't worry, guys. I'm here. I'm here, guys. Don't worry.
I'm on the run. I'm on the run, but I need to make money. So let's try that.
Yeah. And Vinny's kind of just like looks at him like, oh, I wonder if this is actually going to start to create once Kheerat's been like, released from useless Walford police, and then let him go. I wonder if this is going to be the start of a little bit of a rivalry. Oh, you wait till we get onto you, Walford police. I wonder if it's going to create a bit of a rivalry between Kheerat and Vinny moving forwards. If that's going to be sort of the next one of the next big Panasar things, because Vinny is just constantly being trodden on by Kheerat, isn't he? He's constantly trying to prove that he's a grown up with his own little business in the corner of a laundrette selling mobile phones. I'm a grown up, obviously, and constantly just keeps getting overshadowed by Kheerat, because the second Kheerat's on the scene, Suki's like, "Shut up, Vinny, sit down." And that's got to have an effect every now and again, hasn't it? So I'm intrigued to see if they're going to go down that front and almost and create that little frisson between them. But I mean, I like the Panasars, and I'm always excited to see them.
So am I. I love the Panasars. Good for them to actually have a story, a mix within the story. It's a shame they didn't have any bit more involvement with the Grey story. Again, probably at fault with the Walford police for that, but. And also that Suki kind of... I wish that she had her milk moment, as I keep calling it, because she was the one who saw Grey the moment after Chantel had died. And so, I just felt like that was a missed opportunity there a little bit.
Careless.
Oh, fair enough. But for me, that was a missed opportunity.
No, I mean, not me. I mean, Suki couldn't have cared less.
Oh, Suki, fair enough. But I think that she could have stirred the pot a little bit more. And so if Suki, there was enough people stirring the pot already, and to just add Suki to the mix would have made it maybe just a little extra that was unnecessary. But for me, because we love the Panasars, I really would like to have seen that. It's funny because you said that Vinny kind of wanted to get the approval of Kheerat, and Kheerat kind of gave him his approval, but then instantly took it back again afterwards and said, "Oh, but don't wet yourself again." And it was like such a horrible thing to do. It's like, stop bringing something up that he did when he was 9 years old. That's such a cruel thing to kind of keep bringing up as a reason for why he couldn't be responsible. This 9-year-old child, this one mistake, this not even a mistake, this one thing that this 9-year-old child had done will forever be on his resume for why he can't have a meeting with Uncle about how much money should go toward this Dubai development. It felt really unfair, but it also felt deeply realistic. So I thought, perfect, well done. I get that within that kind of community, I suppose. Dotty, then, you saying about this rivalry with Kheerat and Vinny. Do you think that Dotty could be involved with this rivalry somehow? Perhaps Dotty ends up sleeping with Kheerat, and that's the reason.
Did you wonder that? Yeah,
vicious thing. Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah, because we have sort of spoken in the past about how exactly Dotty and Vinny are in terms of their sexual attraction to each other. Obviously, Vinny is fawning over Dotty and everything that she does. Everything that Dotty does smells of roses as far as Vinny's concerned. We haven't really seen that from Dotty. I wouldn't be surprised if that's on the cards at some point. It would kind of take away from the whole Suki and Ash type scenario that we also kind of want to happen, with Eve. So I feel like that would be less effective if that happened as well as that. But who knows at this stage? But it does seem rather that Dotty was sort of, because Dotty at the end of the day is somebody who's kind of at the moment a bit out for herself still, isn't she? And I can kind of see her thinking that she'll get more from Kheerat than she would Vinny. So would Kheerat do that to Vinny? That's the other question. Maybe.
Well, would Kheerat do that to Stacey as well? Because they're getting very close.
Very true.
As well, aren't they? They're getting very, very close. They shared a kiss this week as well when Kheerat had been taken away by the
new
police
alley.
when he was eventually decided to go for the run. Yeah. Down the new alley. Oh, God, there's new alleys. There was all kinds of new alleys
for a walk, really,
well.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, kind of went for a bit of a walk, a bit of a stroll, hood up. No one will know it's me.
I'm on the stroll.
It works for Grey as well. Yeah. We will be talking more about Kheerat's take in the Grey story a little bit later on. But that was one story that was happening alongside that. Another story that was happening alongside of it, which quite honestly I could have given or taken, it really didn't add anything to the episode, was Rocky's story, where he's basically on the job hunt trying to prove that he can be a good person and that he wants to get back into the life of Sonia and Kathy. Every time he got himself a new job, he said, see, Kathy, I'm a good man, I am a good man, Kathy, see. And every time he then got sacked. He had a job at the funeral parlour, couldn't hack that because the dead bodies were making him dry retch. And then he went over to Jay's and started cleaning cars. Fair enough. I agree. Yeah, fair. He started cleaning cars at Jay's and said to Jay, you know what? Yeah, I am a bit of a wheeler dealer. I'm a bit of a con man, but surely that would benefit you. Which kind of made me think, well, Jay, have you not learned anything from when
Nothing.
Janine did the exact same thing to you 2-3 months ago?
No.
So,
clearly the phone boxes aren't clean enough in Walford. Jay needs to have another go round at them. See, now this whole Rocky thing, I get it, alright. I get like the way that the Rocky scenes were inserted into the episodes, alright, I get it, completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. I have a bit of a theory as to why they were included. Okay, it's a bit of a technical term, so I don't know whether they're true or not. You know how when you are singing a song to yourself, or you're listening to a song, you've got the verse. And you've got the chorus, yeah. But then you have a little bit of music in between that links them called the bridge. You know, you might be going da 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 da, and then the music sort of goes da 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 da, and then you go into your chorus. They kind of the bridge is there for a reason, isn't it? It's sort of makes the music make sense in a sort of way. Otherwise, you'd literally have no breaks between the verses and the chorus. I wonder if that's kind of why the Rocky scenes were there as sort of a bridge between the more serious stuff. I'd be interested to see what the episodes would look like if you'd have taken the Rocky scenes out of them. Like, would they have flowed quite as... Would the Whitney or the Grey stuff, would that have flowed quite as well if the scenes hadn't been there? Bearing in mind, this was a Simon Ashdown episode. This ain't his first rodeo, Alex. If he thinks that there's a Rocky scene that's needed in there, I believe him. Because Simon Ashdown is a genius, as we will come on to momentarily. And where I proposed live to Simon Ashdown because the man's an absolute god. And but I think there was some sort of technical reason as to why the Rocky scenes were thrown in, if I'm honest. But like I say, you're right. They could have been left out, and they weren't really needed. But I think that's why they might have been there for a thought.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and I think we use this term quite often for stories that we kind of think shouldn't necessarily be there, and it's a palate cleanser. It's a way just to kind of ruminate, kind of move on for something that's just happened. A bit of a palate cleanser. I just thought that this week, where it was so, we've been going on and criticising the Grey story for so long, but I wanted a Grey story this week, and I wanted it jam-packed, and I wanted as much content as I could get in there as I could. And I just felt like that it kind of moved. I know, I'm so fickle. I just kind of wanted it to kind of move aside a little bit so that we could have a bit more of the Grey story. Because the Friday episode, where it was just all Grey,
yeah.
I really got into that. All Grey all the time. I was really into that. But perhaps again, it might have been just because I knew this was the end, and we knew this was a story was coming to the end, and so it was a feel good moment for us all. But again, I'm getting
other colours on the palette other than Grey sometimes, Alex.
You do.
That's what
you
happens.
I do. I need to look at my palette and maybe paint it in different colours. Yes. But yes, I mean, this is obviously going to move on with the Sonia and Kathy trying to get the approval of them.
Yeah.
Something that kind of popped into my mind was that Sonia still hasn't actually looked for her real father. Like the end, just before the pandemic struck, there was the story when she was looking at the kind of family websites when she was actually going to look for her dad.
Yep.
And I wonder if they are going to come back to that, and perhaps that will somehow integrate into the Rocky story, that she finds her dad and he's not perhaps the real Terry Khan, and he's not perhaps not what she kind of estimated him to be, and that they would then bring her back toward Rocky. So I wonder if that might be a potential story we're going down the road of.
It might be interesting. It would make sense, wouldn't it? Because if someone had turned up, if you'd gone looking for if you'd ordered something on Amazon and something else had turned up, you wouldn't say, "Oh well, I won't bother ordering it. I won't. That's fine. I'll take that." You wouldn't do that, would you?
That's a lovely analogy.
You'd reorder the item that you sent an order out for, wouldn't you? Instead of just accepting the one that was completely not what you ordered. So yeah, it's a possibility. But do you know what? I bet they don't. I bet they don't. I bet we never hear about Sonia's quest to meet her dad ever again. But I agree with you. I wouldn't mind it.
Sonia's quest.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't. The thing is, though, I don't mind. I like Rocky, and I've seen a few people sort of kicking off online, going, "All right, Rocky's story's done." It's like, Rocky's great. I like Rocky a lot, and I've honestly really enjoyed Brian Connolly in the role, and I'm sort of looking forward to the next bit of him now, because obviously now all the Dotty stuff is done with. They've both gone off in their separate directions, and Rocky seems to be sort of just sweeping up the ends of the of the previous story rather than kind of having his next sort of character moment. I also sort of wonder, it's not like he's been fired from the Vic or anything. He's just sort of stepping outside the Vic while they grieve over Tina, which is fair enough.
Oh, when they were mourning
surely,
over Tina,
as soon as they're open again. Yeah, which is fair enough. But it's like he was out looking for a job as though that was it. Like the Vic and him were done. And it's kind of like, well, no, give him a couple of weeks, mate. You'll be back on there. And if you spoke to Mick, I'm pretty sure you'd probably still get you'd get a bit of a wage packet. Just on the quiet. Ask him on a day where he's not grieving when him and Shirley aren't grieving into their vodka. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So, but I don't mind. It did point out to me though that he would kind of quite work at the car lot, wouldn't he?
Well, he would work in the car lot, you're right. But then this is the thing. He's kind of approached Jay for the job in the exact same way that Janine had. And so are we now going to have Jay get in further trouble because Rocky has promised people things that don't exist in the cars that he's bought from some welded together
jacuzzis.
Yeah, he'll start selling jacuzzis. Oh, talking about the set as we did previously at the beginning, at the top of the show. Did you notice the car lot's much bigger now? It's a much bigger car lot.
Huge.
It's like it's a huge car lot. It's doubled its size.
Like a lorry lot.
I know, it seems like a reasonable sized car lot now, and it goes round. Oh yes. Anyway, as we said at the top of the show, I could gush about the new set all day long.
We dump the trucks around the corner
in no time. Okay, so here we go. This is the biggie. And just to let you guys know that we are not going to do any kind of structure with this. We're just going to keep throwing things that we liked, disliked, things that we observed throughout this week with Gray's storyline. So we may be a bit of a roller coaster, but, buckle in and enjoy the ride. And as always, if you have any comments to make, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly, or comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. More details will be at the end of the show as well. But we always enjoy hearing what you guys think. So, the long and short of it is that Gray has finally been caught. He's admitted all his crimes one by one to all the people who it's kind of relevant to admitting them to. He's been arrested, but not before he had a few shenanigans around the square and had obviously taken a few influences from the Assassin's Creed book when he kept putting his hood in and going in amongst the crowd so he wouldn't kind of mingle in. But he did get caught out
Michael Myers, I thought.
He was a bit Michael Myers, fair point. So he started the week. He obviously came out of his coma. He got home and he was meant to meet Chelsea at the hospital where he came out of his coma immediately, went home.
Walford General.
He was meant to meet Chelsea at the hospital to take Jordan home, but then he basically started getting information that Tina's body had been found. They had found out it was Tina. The Carters knew. The police wanted to question him, and Mick and Shirley started to suspect that Gray wasn't quite letting on everything that he knew. So let's start there then. So the Carters kind of at the end of last week decided they made a pact that they were going to find out who it was who did it. They did find out who it was who did it. And so they were basically baying for blood throughout the week, weren't they?
They were a bit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, he kind of comes out of this coma that he's been... I'm really not... the whole coma thing, comas are bad. It's not like just waking up from a long sleep and just think, that's better. Right, I'll go home now. But then, that's drama all over, isn't it, really? Hey-ho. I mean, yeah, just everything, the way that it all sort of ramped up day by day over the week. I have to say, I did appreciate, as much as I whinge about the new schedule and the fact that it's against Emmerdale, it was really nice to sort of just have 4 days in a row of it, wasn't it? Because then you could just sort of buckle in for the next episode each night. I did really like that. And to be fair to it, by the way, it's done all right in the ratings this week against Emmerdale. Not, nothing spectacular, but it didn't disgrace itself this week. So I'm pleased. I was pleased to see that.
If I may just step in with that, I've not followed the ratings, so it's not something I kind of knew about whether they did well or didn't do well against Emmerdale or anything like that. The one thing that I felt really sorry for EastEnders this week was the fact that obviously ITV has started their extended hour-long news show this week, and my goodness, wasn't the news interesting this week? So I did feel a bit sorry that it kind of just had to, like, a lot of people kind of maybe just kind of stayed on the channel because I don't know if the laziness kind of happened there. But anyway, as I say, I didn't know ratings what happened this week with EastEnders, but I'm glad that they held court and they kind of were able to go toe to toe with Emmerdale. And like you, I enjoyed that it was 4 days in a row, nice 7:30 slot, and the story flowed very nicely for those four episodes. So yes. So
it did.
I'm happy with the schedule change.
Yeah, it's. I mean, let's be honest. I don't watch Emmerdale, so I just want the show to look as good as it does for as long as it can. So the story all kind of went in mad weird directions from Monday. Once I have to say, I was surprised that the Carters found out about everything as soon as they did, because I was kind of expecting that little bit to be dragged out. So the fact that they found that out by the end of Monday's episode, I was quite pleased about, because from there, Shirley's on the warpath. And when Shirley's
mad.
Shirley was crazy this week. Linda Henry, mwah. But when Shirley's on the warpath, God help you if she's after you. Honestly, once she's got a barrel full of vodka inside of you, you may as well start running now, because Shirley is like a runaway train once you get started, isn't she? And Mick, it turned out, was no better either. I mean, the best thing about the week for me, I think, was probably when it came to Thursday's episode, when Gray is home. Chelsea kind of walks in and doesn't realise that he's there, and then the whole thing where he turns the lamp on and he's sat there. Screw that. The most terrifying thing in that scene was the dishwasher behind them. I have never been so scared of a household appliance in my entire life. That dishwasher hasn't been closed since Chantel died. No. I mean, to be fair, it's a nice dishwasher. I want that dishwasher with all little gold inside and blue neon lights. It's a lovely dishwasher. However, I didn't like it being open for the entire scene, because you were kind of like, don't you dare. No. It did feel like, did you think they were going to throw something horrible at us, like killing Chelsea off or something? It felt like it was kind of going in that direction at one point, didn't it?
Funnily enough, you should mention that, because there was some parallels made as well, which was quite clever writing, which people spotted almost immediately after Friday's episode had ended on all the internets, Reddit and Twitter, and everyone was saying like, oh, did you notice the parallels with the fact that Chelsea was confronted in front of the dishwasher, and when Gray was confronted in the Vic, he was being strangled by Shirley, just the same way he strangled Tina, and then when he was on the bridge, he almost got pushed into the train. So in the same way that Kush almost got pushed into the train. And people immediately spotted it. And I was so pleased with these people. And I must say, I would have loved to have gushed and said that I saw that too. But I hadn't. I hadn't. No. What are we? After the episode
ended. On a podcast?
After the episode... Yeah, I mean, feel free to take over our roles.
No.
Do a far better job.
Clearly
After the episode
better,
ended, we always have a look online and see what people are talking about. And so I saw it straight away. People had started saying like, "Oh, did you notice the parallels of what everything?" Gray's journey on Friday was basically Gray's journey throughout the show. And I thought, my God, yes, well done, you guys. So yes, well done to everyone who had spotted that straight away.
Honestly.
So kudos to you guys. I would never. Ever, unless I had seen that. So yeah, and kudos to the
Simon
writer.
Ashdown.
I was about to say Simon
Mr.
Ashdown, because
that man
he
needs
did his studies,
tying up
didn't he?
and throwing into the writer's room and never releasing. I love that man so much. Marry me, Simon. You made these episodes fantastic. I adore you. I'm fairly sure, there's a lot more that goes on. There's a lot more that goes into a script, each episode's script, than there is just the writers turning up and going, right, done, there you go. I'm sure there's a lot more kind of technical aspects, story producers, script producers, all of that kind of thing. And I don't understand their roles personally, but I'm sure you were involved in the preparation of those scripts as well, so fair play to you as well. Simon Ashdown's scripts always they just come with like an extra layer of tension to them, don't they? Like the final scenes of Thursday's episodes, you were kind of like genuinely nail biting. When Chelsea's not recording the conversation that they were having as she managed to get out of him that he killed Chantel. He was delivering some claptrap about how Chantel was going mad or something. And she's got the police on the phone. Kind of keeps it there because I think that she was waiting for him to tell the police where Jordan was. I think was the reason why she kept it on after the because I saw a few people going, why did she keep the phone on? What a stupid woman. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure that's why she was doing that. But just the it did make sense, didn't it? But like just the natural tension of those scenes, and by the time the Duff came on Thursday, I was kind of like, my mum was sat there watching it as well. She was obsessed this week. My mum watched every single episode. She doesn't do that all the time. She was obsessed with this week as well.
We're honoured.
I know.
We're honoured.
Honoured, right? So if you're watching, hello mum, nice to see you. So by the time Friday's episode came along, I was ready, weren't you? I was so ready for how it was all gonna get together and how it was all gonna kick off.
Yeah.
Go on. I've got loads. I've got so much to say, but you go.
No. Good. I thought that the build-up was very much a slow burner, and I don't mean that at all in a disrespectful way at all. It's the way it's done. It's very much a slow burner. So when Thursday and Friday's episodes, knowing that they also Simon Ashdown episodes were coming up, I knew that they were going to take off the brakes and they were going to go down that hill and escalate it. So huge. So I liked the way that they kind of had this very slow build and then whoosh, and we went into it. I mean, like you, I was very surprised that Whitney kind of went into the Vic and started telling, like, it got exposed by Tuesday, and Thursday was when it kind of all started happening. Revelation of the week, and I think regular listeners of the show will be going out their minds when I say the following statement.
I'm amazed by this.
Mitch this week. I really liked Mitch this week. From the very beginning when he found out, from the very beginning, I said last week, he's just going to be a spare part and it would be really useless and it would be just normal Mitch and he'll just be like, oh, why didn't I see that? And that'll be the end. No way was he any of that. When Mick first went and talked to Karen and Mitch was the only one who kind of believed it. Then went into the Vic and had the conversation. He saw the posts online. It was just brilliant. And when he left the Vic and he was kind of like muttering to himself, I've got to tell Karen. What do I say to Karen? How do I do this?
Dazed,
then when he spoke to Karen and they had that conversation, and then the very end, he was the one. He was the guy who basically made Gracie justice in the end. And he had an opportunity, like I said, to push Gray into the drain.
I thought he was going to, yeah.
And I think a lot of us did. And I'm sorry, and I admit when I'm wrong, and I don't know what my feelings about Mitch will be after this week, but I must say, I really,
normal service, I assume.
Really loved, it might be, I really loved Mitch this week. I really did. And I thought he was written so well, and I thought he was portrayed so brilliantly, and well done, honestly. But anyway, that's me, enough of the gushing. Is there anything that surprised you about this week of Gray's story?
Yeah, well, just the fact that he's alive, I think, is the thing that, because I don't think either of us actually thought that he was going to survive the week. And when Mitch found out about read all the messages, I think from mid Thursday's episode when Mitch kind of found out the truth, I was kind of like, oh, Mitch does it then. I kind of figured out that I figured that Mitch was going to ultimately kill him because he was so dazed and confused. It was kind of, so it had clearly kind of scratched a layer away from him. So almost removed that sort of layer of sense from him. So I kind of figured that he was going to be the one that did it. And right up to the moment where he's got Gray held, was this train going by, I was like, he's going to push him in front of it. He's going to push him in front. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then he didn't. The strength of character that must have required from Mitch to look into the eyes of a man that killed brutally, that not only killed his daughter, but he's seen the messages online. So he knows exactly the torture that Gray put her through for all those years. Yeah. The strength of character that man must have possessed not to just push him in front of a train was impeccable. I think Mitch and Chelsea were sort of characters of the week for me. Whitney did what we would have expected Whitney to do throughout the entire thing.
Whitney,
really.
yeah.
Like Whitney did Whitney. Nothing bad about that because Whitney's role was necessary throughout the week, but Whitney didn't surprise us really, did she? It was not surprise. Yeah, and didn't always. It didn't sing either, so fair play as well to keep it kind of keeping that. Yeah, you know. But Mitch, absolute strength of character, totally. As I'm glad that you said that about Mitch because I love Mitch now. I think Mitch was brilliant. There is every potential for him to kind of go back to. Oh my god, there is every potential for him to go back to sort of quiet Mitch. But then this is the first week I feel like Mitch has really been given anything really substantial to do, and God did he deliver. So
yes.
I think he is one of the characters of the week, and I think Chelsea is one of the characters of the week. That girl has balls of steel for what she did in the Thursday and Friday episode. Can you imagine, like, the fear that must have been going through her? Everything that she's been going through with Jordan, and then she's trying to coax a confession out of him, and then he's trying to keep him in the house while she's waiting for the police to arrive, knowing that when he sees that thing on her phone, he's going to go for her, and he's going to attack her, and she might not survive it. She could at least have kicked the dishwasher shut, for Christ's sake. You know, that was probably the first. But absolute balls of steel, Chelsea. Oh, amazing. Okay, so that's a lot of gushing. You did message when we were talking, because me and Alex do trade messages again during the odd week. You did say you had a niggle. So what was your niggle that you had what you had this week? What was it?
Okay, well, I start. But my main niggle. There's no start. This is
settle
my
down,
main,
everyone.
Right, here we go. This is what I thought. No, my main thing was that there was a moment that felt a bit jarring on Friday, and that was when Gray snuck into the Vic.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that.
I don't know why he did that. No, I don't know why he did that. That didn't make sense for him to do that. Like, he was hiding. I expected, to be honest with you, when he was at the door at the Vic, I expected Shirley to kind of open the door and put him in. And
that would have made more sense.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it would have made better sense. So why did he go? I couldn't get my head. Why did he go in? Because he knew that they would be there waiting. They wouldn't be anywhere else. The only thing I could reasonably think that they thought that maybe the Carters had left the Vic to see what the shouting was outside, because at that point, Chelsea had screamed and said, he's run away. And that's when I mentioned earlier, the police forgot that they have back gardens, or didn't see the beginning of the episode where they have back gardens now, where Gray then
police see nothing.
Escaped.
The police see nothing. They don't see two people dangling from a bridge. Again,
bridge.
I know. Not a single copper on the whole of the square saw that. It took Mitch to literally sort of be wandering around and then sort of looked up, and then went and did his hero moment. But not a single copper. They had the entirety of Scotland Yard and a helicopter flying over Walford at that point, and not a single one of them spotted it. Ridiculous. Every single person on Walford Police needs sacking. Can you imagine if, thank God, only Jack was on? Can you imagine if Callum was on? He'd have arrested Whitney, probably. Honestly.
I mean, again, it made me laugh that they made Jack like the head investigator for trying to find.
What's he going to do?
And the moment I saw it was Jack, I thought, this isn't going to get resolved anytime soon, is it? This is going to go on for another week now, isn't it? Yeah, Gray's out of it.
Christmas.
Oh no. And as you say, when he was dangling from the bridge, there was an ambulance taking Shirley out of the Vic, so there was at least ambulance people looking up as well. Again,
nobody.
And another disregard for the NHS by the EastEnders crew.
Hey ho.
But I did. Because Ben said to me, he said, surely they can see him. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, no, because they're on the other side of the bridge. They must be on the other side of the bridge, so they can't see it. No, they weren't. They weren't there on the front, where the square is, where everyone could see. Although, again, talking about the set,
where Martin got dangled.
Where Martin was, but that was a bit different because it was Christmas time, so it may have been a bit quieter. There wasn't riots or all kinds of stuff hanging out. But I did love that when Gray climbed the scaffold and went along the bridge, there was you saw the rooftops of the set, and that was all new as well. It was all the new rooftops. Yeah, so that was a nice, exciting little moment as well. I did love that. It did.
Honestly.
And you said as well, you said it in a tweet, EastEnders at night is the best.
There is nothing. There is no better orgasm for my eyes than seeing Albert Square at night bathed in police blue lighting. It just looks so atmospheric. Stick it in the Louvre. It's amazing. It's such an atmospheric set. And sometimes when you get new sets and stuff, that atmosphere and grittiness can be lost, and that hasn't happened with this. It still looks like the old Albert Square, and it's always looked amazing at night, and it still looks amazing at night. So, yeah. My only sort of small niggle, and the pub thing, again, I completely agree with you. I do not know why Gray went into there, and I don't know what he was thinking of achieving. And it did, that whole thing of Gray sort of going around all the different families that he's caused pain for, it felt a little bit musical chairs at times, just sort of well, now Gray needs to go in here. How's he going to do in there? Because he walks in? I don't know. So there was a little bit of that. So, but my only main niggle for the week was Tuesday's episode, they could have thrown in just an extra 10 minutes just for this week, couldn't they? They could have because for me, Tuesday's episode, it could have done with that extra 10 minutes because I wasn't entirely sure how the police knew that Kheerat was at the hospital. I'm assuming what happened because there was a little exchange with him and the nurse and a little look that Kheerat gave the nurse as if to say, does she know who I am? So I'm assuming that's why the police turned up at the hospital. But it wasn't really that clear as to why Kheerat got arrested there. And I was kind of a little bit confused as to how Gray got in and out with the baby without being seen, considering, where was Chelsea during that whole time? It didn't seem that Chelsea had left the ward at all, so how did Gray get in and out of the thing? So I feel like those 10 minutes could have sort of polished those moments up a little bit.
Explained it better, and also to further extend that your niggle there is that see I thought that perhaps when Gray took Jordan, that at the same time he saw Kheerat then, and so he phoned the police, and then the police turned up and then took him away. But then that would kind of then,
could have been
why did
else,
the police get to the hospital so quickly to pick up Kheerat? But when it came to Gray kind of bashing around, around the house,
because they're Walford police.
Well, I know, Walford police. Ladies and gentlemen, Walford police. Yes, and then when Kheerat was yelling at the police officer as well, she was arresting him, and he was like, listen to me, Gray is mad, he's going to hurt people, and she was like, yeah, whatever, you're arrested. And it's because in a way, I kind of again wanted, I kind of wanted Kheerat to be part of the chase on the Thursday and Friday episodes as well. So I was a bit disappointed again, and this goes again to my earlier point where the Panesars weren't involved quite as much as I felt like they could have been. I said Suki originally because obviously she was the one who sold Gray the milk when Chantel sadly met her demise. And, Kheerat knew this information as well as Whitney. So I wanted Kheerat to be there too, to kind of celebrate the fact at the end that Gray had been arrested and taken away. Can I talk to you about a moment that happened there, actually, when Gray got taken away, that he looked at Karen and he kind of pointed to his eye?
That to me, maybe I'm being overzealous with my Ashdown enthusiasm, but that to me was pure and utter classic Simon Ashdown. Because if you remember, it was a final, quite cruel taunt from Gray just as he was taken away. Because if you remember, in that scene where Karen's got the bat, and Gray and Karen are talking about Chantel, and he said to her, he said to her that his eyes were the last thing that Chantel saw before she died. So that's why he pointed to his eyes just to sort of taunt her, and that's why she kind of was looking at him really resolutely. And then because you can see he did it, and then his face sort of dropped. So I'm guessing what happened there was that he was sort of expecting a kind of reaction, didn't get one from Karen, and then he got put in the police car, and then Karen broke down and started sobbing. So, Gray didn't get that final bit of satisfaction that he was after. So that's what that was. Yes.
What a nasty thing to do. What a cruel,
isn't it?
Cruel thing to
what
do.
An arsehole. A horrible man. A horrible person. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they made him, like, he was horrible by the end. Such a nasty, nasty, nasty person who, frankly, the temptation was, I wasn't as bothered by the idea of Grey dying as some other people were. I saw the merits of him going to prison, and I'm glad that he's gone to prison. But I honestly would not have minded if Mitch had pushed him in front of that train. I'd have been fine with that, in all honesty, because I was expecting him to die, so I would have been alright with it. Okay. But in retrospect, I'm quite pleased that he's gone to prison, because Grey is not going to cope in there. The type of person that he is, who relishes in controlling people and bullying people and being top dog, he's not going to cope in there. Prison is going to be absolutely hell for him. And the fact that he's gone in there with the murder of 3 people, even Walford police can't get him out of that one. He's going to be in there probably for the rest of his life, and it's going to be a nightmare for him. So it is the better punishment.
Is he going to be in there for the rest of his life, though? Because I'm wondering now what we're going to have
better be
after this. What is the aftermath now? Because again, let's look at the history of aftermath on the show currently, and you saying the what basically answers that question for us immediately. We've not had much of it so far, have we? And we're led to believe now that this is Toby Alexander's last time on the show. Now, see, that seems a shame to me. I know maybe I'm asking for more. I'm asking for more and more and more, because the first thing I said was, oh, okay, you can kill him. Yeah. But, it would be better if they didn't kill him. They totally made the right decision by not killing him. 100% made the right decision by not killing him, because the message that would have brought out if they had, for me, and I've said it on the past podcast, would not have been the correct message. Now I think they need to follow it through. I think they need to now kind of carry it on. I think that again, this is me being fickle. For weeks we've been saying, oh, when's this story ever going to end? It's ended now. And now I'm saying, why can't we have aftermath with Grey's story? I know. I want to see more now. Because, to be honest with you, the only evidence they seem to have against Grey is a testimony against that he basically confessed to Karen and to Whitney.
Chelsea.
And and Chelsea. But at the phone call, he pretty much made out that it was almost like, not self-defense, but like he couldn't. It was the only. What had happened was a mistake. So if he only gets charged for accidental death and then not confessing to it, he's going to get a much lighter sentence than if he was to then be convicted for all 3 of the crimes that he did. The 2 murders and 3 murders and the domestic abuse. So I want this aftermath.
I know. I don't mind, never see. I am also of the mindset of, right, it's done. Toby's gone. I feel for that guy. I feel for Toby Alexander Smith, because what a part he has had to play for the past few years,
Yes,
the domestic violence kind of side of things went so well and was received so well, and then it all went off in, and I say, his words here, a tangent, he said in interviews, not slagging he's not been slagging the show off or anything, but his that phrase when he talked about the serial killer thing was that it went off on a tangent, which I thought was a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah, it was a polite way of saying it went maybe a bit weird.
Quite mad. When you've got actors using phrases like, well, soap. Drama heightened, all that sort of thing. But I feel for the guy. Like, what a role he has had to play throughout all of this. I would like to see him. Now we know that he's going to prison. I wouldn't mind seeing him, because court cases, we've spoken about this. I'm assuming COVID stuff is now slowly coming to an end because people were touching each other left, right, and centre this week. I don't really see much COVIDness going on screen at the moment. So it seems like it's basically been forgotten about, unless they have gotten to a point where it's so expertly done that we just don't see any of it at all, or we're so used to seeing it doesn't register. But I think it's more or less done on the show now. So I would like to see some stuff outside. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see it. I think if we just accept that's Grey done now. Again, we're so fickle. I know. We've been praying for this to end. We've been praying for this to end for months, and now we're like, but God, we miss him. Bring him back.
Please, sir,
I'd quite like to see. Yeah, right. My ideal scene would be just one episode where he comes back for the court case. And everyone goes. Karen goes. Mitch goes. Whitney goes. Kheerat goes. Everyone goes. For a little day trip, on a bus to the court, just to see him get sent down. Yeah, and he is revealed, and like he looks like an animal. Like he's the good looking dashing guy is gone. Huge beard, bags under his black eyes underneath him. And we see the effect that prison has had on him, the punishment that he is going through, and we see that he gets sent down for years upon years upon years upon years. I do not want, and I repeat, I do not want him to be the next Lucas who can kind of come in and out of prison whenever he likes, like Sideshow Bob. No, none of that. Thank you very much. But I would like to see, because we are led to, because I think we're sort of filling in the gaps here where we say prison is going to be a nightmare for Grey. It is going to be a nightmare for Grey because people like Grey do not cope well in that situation. We get that, but I would like to sort of see a smidgen of that punishment taking place and the mental effect it has on him, so we can feel fully justified and satisfied for the punishment that he's received for what we've had to go through to get to this point.
Yes, what we've had to get through as well as the square
yes,
had
us
to get
personally.
Through.
Yeah.
How do you think it's going to affect Mac and Mia as well? Because they seem to be a part of the puzzle now, because they've lost both their parents. So who's going to be looking after this? Is Karen going to adopt them as her own, or what's going to happen with them now?
I imagine what's going to happen is that they're going to sort of fill the role that Chatham and Riley have left. You know, when they sort of disappeared.
I wondered that.
Karen's always. Karen, they're just going to be two kids that kind of show up every now and again a half term when they're not at school, and sort of get given a little storyline about, you know, pencil sharpeners or something, and then sort of not seen again for months and months on end. No, bless them. You know, neither of the. I thought, you know, cute kids and perfectly capable kids, and what a story to throw at two kids, and it would have been. I would quite like to have seen more of the impact that it has on them. Maybe we will. Maybe we will see the impact it has on Mac and Mia. Maybe this is the start of Mac and Mia, Mac and Mia's journey on Albert Square. That might be quite nice to see, because, like you say, those kids have now got no parents. You know, Mum's dead, Chantel's dead, Grey's in prison, and they've kind of got quite close to Whitney. So I wonder if Whitney's going to have a sort of surrogate son and daughter to look after her as they get older. I don't know.
Yeah, But do you think that they may now blame Whitney for putting their dad into prison? Because, you know, Whitney's already had Leo blame her for crimes. Yeah, Leo and then Mac and Mia. So I worry for poor Whitney. She's going to have another revenge case against her. Anniversary week, 40th anniversary.
Whitney's life, isn't it? Yep, there you go.
I mean, I enjoyed the week so much. There was a lot of people saying it was a shame. You said it's a shame that the Tuesday episode was only 20 minutes. I fully agree with you there. I wish it was half an hour. I feel like it was a shame the Thursday's episode wasn't an hour, because I feel that there could have been more with the acts of, Grey trying to escape with his kids. I wish there was a moment where he did take the kids away with him. He, like when Karen shouted out the window, he quickly grabbed Mac and Mia and took them, pulled them around the square. I don't know. Would you like there to be more to the ending? Like I said, they was ramped up so hard on Monday and Tuesday. Would you like there to be a bit more at the end, or?
I mean, of course, this is the thing. When EastEnders does these big climax weeks, nothing can touch it. If you've got, the direction was amazing this week. And when the scripts were as tight as they were, from both Simon Ashton and Kevin Rundle, fair play to both of them. But when you've got the writing as tight as it was, when the direction is as tight as it was, and everyone and all the actors kind of up their game as well, you always find when the scripts are that good as well, don't you? Like, everyone wants to deliver what is a great script. Everyone was great this week. I loved it. And when the show is firing on all cylinders like that, give me a 5-hour saga. I don't care. Put EastEnders on from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. the whole day. Of course. And yeah, of course. Friday there was a little bit, like I said, it was a little bit musical chairs in places. Especially that Vic sequence was a little bit sort of awkward, because it's kind of like, why is he in there? It did a little bit. It was necessary because we needed. I felt that we needed to have that moment because of the anguish that Shirley and Mick had gone through that week. It would have been nice to sort of. It wouldn't have felt right if Mick and Shirley hadn't have had that moment with Grey. That was necessary, but it did sort of feel like Grey just sort of walked into the Vic to allow them to have that moment. They were given that moment, and then Grey walked out of the Vic again. It would have been nice to have been able to sort of expand that a little bit, to kind of give it a bit more logic, but. The thing is, we're nitpicking basically over what was overall a good set of episodes.
Yes,
no week is perfect ever, and
of course.
There's both sides. But so my big question to you is, and we've sort of touched on it, what happens next? Because the Grey storyline has so overshadowed everything for so long. Now that's been removed, what happens on Albert Square next? Like, what are the next big stories, like, waiting in the wings to start from here?
Oh, you mean like literally what's now we're going forward? Because this week we also got a tweet from John Sen saying that this was it. This was his final week as executive producer. So presumably we're now in the changeover period. I believe they're still going to credit him as executive producer, or either him or Kate Oates before the Clenshaw era begins, which isn't for another month or so. So, Clenners. So yeah, I suppose we're now going to be in that kind of lull period where they're kind of almost the York period where he kind of like was taking over the show just to kind of like carry it along for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're going to have a few more kind of rocky filler stories, let's just call them, and they're going to be kind of plodding along. Okay. Now, what I worry about is that the Panasars are going to get swept up into that, because I feel like the Panasars are going to be used quite heavily from this moment onwards, and I hope that it's not just going to be a kind of like a wash away story, and that this could be, like you said, the Vinny and Kheerat story could be the beginning of something much longer. The Suki story with Ash could be the beginning of something much longer. I like the fact that the Slaters are kind of mixed in.
Well, we've also got the Aaron stuff. I'm assuming he wasn't just brought back for that one little scene, so there's probably more to come for the Monroes in the future as well. So presumably there's something still to happen with Aaron, I would have thought, because it would have been a very strange thing to just, because if that was all he was, like, we could have done without that scene, couldn't we? Like, we could have just had Harvey sign the statements and then go off with Jean. So the fact that they brought the actor of Aaron back to sort of indicate that there was more to come, and the fact that it was given a duff, I think there's more to come with Aaron. So that's potentially another big story that's kind of waiting to start up again. Phil's in prison still, so something mad will have to happen to get Phil out of prison. To Tommy stuff. The Tommy stuff still there in the background. I agree with you, though. There's nothing sort of waiting to kind of go, now it's my moment. There's a few little things that are kind of bubbling away, but nothing too climactic to sort of go into straight away. So yeah, next week, I think the Taylors have got some stuff coming up next week, because there's another exit next week.
Well, see,
that's going to be,
saying about
the
the
main
Taylors
thing next
having
week, isn't it?
More next week, because I worry for the Taylors, because I feel like they're slowly dwindling into very little insignificance, and so I do worry that the Taylors are slowly kind of disappearing, which is another reason why I kind of worry for like what's going to happen with Mac and his kids, Gray's kids, and I'm worried that like what's going to be. I'm finding now like Mitch. Is he going to still be hanging around with Karen Lee? Do you know what I mean? Because Keegan is leaving as well. That's not a spoiler. We know that's happening. So one by one, the Taylors are kind of disappearing, and I feel like that's almost introduced. That's almost a kind of sign that Chris Clenshaw might be putting his stamp on by putting a new family into the square as well. So I wonder if that's kind of like, it's a one in, one out situation. It normally is. I mean, like I say, it's going to kind of bubble along right now, but until Chris Clenshaw finally takes the reins. He's probably, getting himself set up right now. And when he takes the reins, then he's going to want to start making a mark of the show, what he wants to do. I mean, through the highs and lows of John Sen, at least he's kind of left it in a situation where it's acceptable now that he can kind of then pass over the torch to the new executive producer. So that's
characters are ready
nice
to go.
So yeah,
and he went out on a good week. Let's be fair to him.
He did go out on a good week.
Fair play.
Yeah, and it was always his baby.
Nothing will ever
Chantel and Grace story.
Yeah,
it was always his baby. And I think he always wanted it.
Yeah, it was an ugly baby. It really was.
It was no Pearl. It was no Pearl.
It was no Pearl. It was no Raymond. But the question obviously hanging in the air was it worth the wait? The answer clearly is nothing will ever have been worth that wait. Realistically, the storyline could have finished if we're going to be uber generous, the storyline could have ended about 3 months ago. This would have been great at Christmas, wouldn't it? Those would have been great Christmas episodes. It would have been great Christmas, but we've got what we've got. It's over. it's officially over. We may never whinge about the Grey storyline again. I'll almost miss that.
Well,
it seems to have been a key component of our podcasting relationship, Alex, that we moan about Grey once a week together, and things may never be the same between us ever again. That's sad, isn't it?
Might as well just stop doing it. Might as well just stop doing the podcast.
Might as well stop doing it. Thank you for listening to us for all these years.
Good night.
Before we hit episode 200. Good night. Thank you.
but yeah, no, so there you go. It was a fantastic week and a really exciting
It was brilliant.
And we would love to know your thoughts. And there is only one way you can do that, and this is how it is.
You can contact us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for our spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Spotify, Podbean, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or at alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. Can you notice that I couldn't find my lines then, so did it completely off the wall? I don't think I did bad. I nearly learnt that time. Nearly learnt it. What a week! What a week it's been. Please let us know. We've gabbled on for hours now, it feels like, and please let us know what you thought of this week. We will read them out next week, we promise.
Definitely.
And we can't wait to hear your thoughts. We can't wait to hear your thoughts on what was, I have to say, a pretty damn good week. So we can't wait to hear your thoughts. And thank you for joining us on our new podcast slot. We like this. Saturdays.
Yes.
Saturdays are nice, aren't they?
Let us know if you're listening to us on a Saturday. We're now on a Saturday. Although I don't hold out a lot of hope because we're going to be up against the rugby, Scotland versus England. So I expect a lot of people will be watching that on Saturday, but that's fine.
I get the smallest suspicion that our audience probably doesn't watch much rugby. I don't know why. Of course you do. You're such a lad, aren't you, Alex? Such a lad. Such a lad. So, don't forget to join us next Saturday where we'll be talking about whatever EastEnders throws at us this week. So, until then, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
See you next week. Bye-bye.